That weekend I just wanted a quiet fishing trip in a small cabin in the countryside. The lady who owned the place told me the outside lights sometimes turned on by themselves. She said it was nothing, just a problem with the old wiring. I ignored it. I was just interested in getting a break from the routine. The idea of sitting alone by the lake with my thoughts sounded perfect, but I didn't expect to wake up night after night with a lump in my stomach. I didn't expect to find footprints where no one should go, and I definitely didn't expect to see a figure in dark clothing staring at me from the fence. I arrived on a Friday afternoon. The cabin was on a dirt road next to some tall grass and a shallow stream leading to a larger lake. The place looked old but clean. There was a porch with an old rocking chair, screen door, and modest furniture. With basic furniture, a small table, 2 chairs, a couch, and a bed. In a small master bedroom house. Standing on porch waiting to give me keys. She was late 60, maybe early 70, wearing sweater and jeans. She pointed to the motion sensor lights mounted above the front door and in the corners of the cabin. She said they flashed for no reason. Sometimes it could be animals. I just nodded. She gave me a quick smile and said not to worry, it happens sometimes, nothing dangerous. I put my bag down and thanked her. She left the old pickup and I went inside. The first evening was quiet. I put my stuff on the bed, looked around for musty smell, but it seemed okay. The fridge was working. The sink faucet was dripping a little but didn't bother me. I went outside to check out the property. There was a small backyard with a short fence. On the other side of the fence I saw a row of trees. The ground was wet from rain earlier that week. I stepped in a few muddy spots, but not enough to ruin my shoes. The front yard had gravel where I parked the car. I took a deep breath of fresh air and felt better than I had in months. That night I cooked a simple meal on the stove and read a magazine on the couch. Around 10, I felt tired. I turned off the lights and went to bed. I didn't notice anything strange until around 3 a.m. when outside the flickering light was a dim light coming through the curtains. I opened my eyes and listened. Nothing, no wind, no animal rustling. The silence was thick. My heart was beating a little faster than usual. After about 10 seconds the lights went out. I thought a raccoon or possum had passed through the yard. I tried to go back to sleep and I fell asleep without much trouble. The second day was peaceful. I woke up early, drove to the lake and fished for hours. The catch wasn't big, but I liked the still water. My phone barely had a signal, which was nice. I sat in my folding chair, did some line and watched the clouds. No one else came. In the late afternoon I headed back to the cabin. I made my own. I had a sandwich and put on some music from a playlist I downloaded on my phone. As the sun went down I noticed the trees behind the fence casting long shadows falling on the yard. This place became quiet as the night fell. I went inside to shower and sat down to watch a movie on my laptop. Around midnight I saw something move outside the window. At first just a flickering motion. I paused the movie and heard it a few seconds later. The light outside came back on, illuminating part of the yard. My chest tightened. I got up, walked over and looked out the window. I was expecting a deer or something. That's when I saw a figure near the back fence. It looked like a woman wearing a long dark suit, maybe a dress or a jacket. She just stood there, back straight, head tilted slightly towards the cabin. She wasn't very tall, but I couldn't make out the details, just a shape. My scalp tingled. I blinked and looked back in. The light switch turned off the glare on the window. Then I rushed outside in my socks. The porch light was on. The lights came on and I rushed to the fence and said, "Hello ma'am." No response. I looked around, but all I could hear was my own breathing. I turned around, scanned the yard. Nothing, no footsteps, no movement. Old fence, but I definitely didn't see any gates left open. The only noise was my heart pounding in my ears. I stayed out there for a minute, then went back inside. I felt cold sweat breaking out on my forehead. I locked the door and checked the windows. Then I sat on the bench waiting to see if the lights would come back on. Eventually they didn't. I fell asleep out there, restless but exhausted. The third night was worse. After another fishing trip that day I felt a little restless. I kept thinking about it. It seemed like it could just be a neighbor checking the place out, maybe.